What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Movie Talks, your own Lee podcast for all your movie news, movie reviews, and more. So excited! This is
the
longest Lawson has ever done anything, and we keep bringing
keep
bringing content back to you. And we've got a big started, I guess I'd call it the big lineup of current movies and TV shows that are out. So we've got the one and the only, the old Avatar, which is finally here, and I still don't think they've reached the 2 billion to make a break even. Or
is that right?
Yeah,
I'm looking up right now actually because I'm real curious.
They're still short. We've also got the new horror franchise, which is M3gan with a 3 instead of an E. I hate it. It makes searching it really annoying. And also Kaleidoscope, which is the newest Netflix big, I guess, blockbuster. They needed something really in terms of the draw card, but where you can watch it in any order. I think it was 5,000 different orders that you could watch it as long as you watch the white episode at the end.
White, yeah, that's right, white.
Yeah, so white at the end. So that's pretty exciting for you guys, I do believe. But why are you doing that, Lawson?
Sorry, yeah, I'm there. As of 3 days ago, they got 1.8, so they're very close.
Oh, okay.
They might, but if they need to make 2 bill per movie at the next 2 or 3, whatever it is, there's no fucking way. Not to spoil our upcoming review, after this, I don't think people are going to be that excited for the next one.
No, I reckon it's probably done its course. I reckon if they kept it probably in a 2 or 3 year gap rather than, 10 years in between, they probably would have done all right. But it was mainly due to them not having the technology. Like they had to create their own cameras to do all the underwater stuff that they needed. That was apparently why it took so long. But as you guys know, I like my jokes. So here we go.
Are we starting with a joke today, are we?
Couple, yeah.
Jesus, all right.
Yeah. So why can't you give Elsa a balloon? Because she'll let it go.
Sure. Fantastic.
Yeah. And how did Reese eat her ice cream?
Reese?
Yeah. How did Reese eat her ice cream? With a spoon.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I don't mind that one because the Reese with a spoon, Reese without a spoon is a funny joke to me.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't mind it.
But we'll start strong.
Better than the first.
Whatever, it was good.
That's strong.
Yeah.
Great. So, I'm really glad we're here for that.
Yes, that's right. You got to keep people coming back for what they want. And that's what they want. So hello to all our international listeners and also our Australian returning listeners and new listeners. I've got to say, we didn't look up international greetings. I do know.
No, we never do.
No. I know konnichiwa.
Where do you say Indian and Belgian we know is hello, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would say was other pretty big demographic?
India, we had 5 from last time from India, new, whatever that was.
Okay.
A few from Canada.
Namaste? It's Hindi. Hindi is namaste.
Is that greeting? Right? I always thought that was like a goodbye, like peace, love.
It could be like ciao. In Italian, ciao is hello and goodbye.
Oh, there you go. I don't know.
We're just showing our white ignorance here.
Yeah, so let's look them up for next episode. I make no promises, but
Yeah, let's try. Let's try that. I'm down.
You'll see. Yeah,
I'll forget.
So we've improved. So I gave you konnichiwa, and that's it.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, one improvement. But we let's move on to movie news. Give me the intro. Go.
Movie news.
Yeah, nice.
That's like the start of Spanish Flea. My bad. First thing came to head. Doesn't matter. Continue. Movie news.
Ridley Scott is doing a Gladiator sequel.
Yep.
Yeah.
So down.
I'm hoping they do justice to it. Like Gladiator 1 is such a good film. It is incredible. Like it's one of the movies I've seen numerous times just because how good it is. Like Joaquin Phoenix, he's a great actor. It has to be Russell Crowe's like best performance.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
Are you not entertained? I love it.
Paul Mescal or Mescal or whatever the fuck it is
Yep.
the new lead, and
Is-
that's okay. I'm okay with that.
What was he in? What's he
Um,
been in?
oh shit, I recognize him. Let me do the old Google one right now.
Because he looks familiar, but
Um,
I don't
have you
know what
seen
he's
God's
been in.
Creatures come out this year? Oh, sorry, I say this year, last year.
Yeah,
God's
I
Creatures.
didn't see it. No.
Um, besides the point, I think it was okay.
Okay.
He hasn't got a huge list. But yeah, sure.
I'm hoping it's like kind of another. Would you say it was an original story? Like there was no other sort of.
What's that, Gladiator?
Yeah, like I know
I
they're
mean,
doing.
original for what it was at the time.
Yeah,
I think now we've had a lot of stuff that sort of, you look at 300 and the Blood in the Sand. Not Blood in the Sand. The is that what it's called?
it was
The
Blood and Sand. That was a TV show. That was Spartacus
yeah,
though, with all the slow
yeah.
mos
But
and
that's
stuff.
to me, that's all sort of kind of the same. Not the same thing. I don't mean, don't get me wrong. It's completely different time and different even locations on the planet, but they're all sort of molded from each other, I guess.
Yeah,
In my eyes, anyway. But yeah, I'm down. I think, especially if Ridley Scott's at the helm. Um, I think part of me comes down a lot to production company and stuff as always, but Paramount don't have a bad track record there.
yeah, they're
Um,
pretty good.
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see. I'm
yeah.
I'm keen for it. I
All
think
right.
I think handled well will be great.
Yeah, I'm keen for it.
Yeah.
And our mate, old Nicolas Cage, is playing Count Dracula.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Eb showed me the trailer of that during the week, actually.
Uh, I haven't
Yeah.
seen it. Are they going down the comical side or are they going down
Yes.
the horror side? Good.
Yeah, it's the guy from, if you ever saw Warm Bodies or
Mm.
even the second character change of Skins, um the main guy from that, who was also in, I forgot his name right now, he's been in lots. Nicholas Hoult. He's been in Mad Max. He's done heaps. Um he is sort of a comical, sort of funny, but yeah, strangely he's not like a comedian, but he does a lot of comedic stuff. Point is, yes, it's down like a comedy sort of path where Nicolas Cage's Dracula isn't like a main character; he's almost like the villain. But
Okay.
if you watch the trailer, the way they reveal it's Nicolas Cage, it's obviously like parody comedy. It's fucking great. I'm really keen for this. I'm gonna send you the trailer and you to watch it.
All right. I'll give it a
It's
look.
hilarious.
But yeah, I'm glad because
April.
Nicolas Cage is either hit or miss, as we were saying, I think last
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
And I think him going down the comical side is going to be way better in terms of improving his odds for a hit
Yes.
rather than him trying to play a
I
serious,
think
spooky
modern
Dracula.
day directors recognize his sort of meme potential. And that, casting him in over the top ridiculous roles like as Dracula, you might as well cast him as Hitler sort of thing. Like you need to cast him as these over the top, ridiculous, silly characters. And he gives it his all, which is just laughable. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
I'm keen as April 16th, I think, or something like that.
Oh,
It
that's a
comes
good
out.
day. It's a great day. That
Great day.
it
Yeah,
is. It is a
it is.
great day. But
Mm.
also, one of my favorite franchises, which comes from my favorite director, is the new Evil Dead trailer came out,
Mm.
and you watched it as well. So this is bringing the Deadites to LA, and it, for me, looks like they have captured the essence of the Deadites and
Yeah.
not Resident Evil, the Evil Dead sort of feel in terms of how spooky the Deadites
Yeah.
actually are with the Book of the Dead, and it looks
Totally.
great.
When I first heard about this, I thought it was going to be, because while Evil Dead is a horror, it's sort of campy and funny in action moments, and it's comedy moments as well. This feels like a really like gruesome depiction of the Deadites and that whole lore,
Yeah.
which is cool. The trailer looked fucking scary.
Did you see the reboot? The reboot Evil Dead?
No, you asked me that a little while ago. No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah. So the original trilogy, I guess Evil Dead, the first one, they went like it was spooky because of how like sort of I guess how they portrayed the Deadites, but it still had that comedy aspect in there, just due to Bruce Campbell's like delivery.
Yes,
Him as
100%.
Ash, he's he's still one of my favorites. And then
I know you love him.
Evil Dead 2 lent into the comedy side while also having that horror element. And then three just went full comedy pretty much. Like they had pretty limited horror aspects in it, and then they rebooted it and they actually kept the horror aspect in there.
Right.
Besides Ash vs Evil Dead, which is the TV show, which
is pure comedy.
yeah. But
that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, the mother looks sick. Like she looks awesome in terms of being the main Deadite coming in. Like pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I liked how even in the trailer you could see a lot of, and I think this is very true to the what's the word I want, to the sort of history of Evil Dead, I guess. A lot of practical effects. There was a scene where I think the mother was crawling out of like the bathtub, and she's like on the ceiling, and you can tell it's in they've built an upside down room, and I fucking love that sort of shit. I say it all the time on here. I'd rather you go real simple, upside down rooms and holes in floors and things like that, rather than trying to go down a ridiculous CGI route. So yeah, this looks really cool. Yeah. I think it's April as well.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, Evil Dead have been kind of like that the whole time. Like they haven't really done much of the CGI. I guess there was like Ash's hand when he gets cut off and he's crawling around, and then you've got, but the whole evil presence has always been like that point of view where it's coming through the forest and like it's just I'm keen for it. I might be slightly biased, but I don't care. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm unbiased and I'm keen as hell. That trailer was fucking like there's so many horrors and stuff being pumped out at the moment that I think we've lost the essence of what it means to be a scary movie. I think we just focus too much on jump scares and scary themes and all spooky dolls, introducing M3gan. But I think Evil Dead, like watching that trailer, it seems scary, like proper, and that's something I haven't seen properly in a little while.
Yeah, I haven't seen a very scary one for quite some time. I think Sinister was probably the last one where I was like, that's kind of scary. That, and because I've got an irrational fear of ghosts. So
ghosts, paranormal. Yeah.
So
see, ghosts don't do much for me. It's more like demonic stuff and like people being tortured and stuff like that. That's more the stuff that I'm like, ooh, that's kind of fucked.
Okay.
Whereas ghosts is like, like I can reason that away.
Yeah.
But yeah, keen. Super keen. April's gonna be cool.
Yep. Going into our supernatural kind of theme, I guess you could kind of put old Avatar in the supernatural in terms of
science fiction.
Yeah. Alien beasts, and there's all sorts of things coming in.
Let's just use that as a segue.
I tried. It's a loose segue. Our supernatural sci-fi blockbuster action adventure fantasy Avatar: The Way of the Water. So we are returning. What?
The Way of Water.
Wait, what? That's
it's not The Way of the Water.
Should be.
I know. I've been saying The Way of the Water all this time as well.
Yeah.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yeah. I did see a number of things, and they're talking about how it's going to be all the elements in terms of all the different films. So they're going to go.
I heard the next one's fire.
Yeah.
And which means it's going to be like a air one.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're going to do that, but whatever. I don't think I'm going to give a shit either.
No. But this is returning to Jake Sully, who is our main, I guess he was from the Sky People, the humans, which then I can't remember exactly, but did he transfer his consciousness into the Avatar from memory?
At the end of the first movie, when I think his old body gets killed or something, I can't remember.
He was in a wheelchair, they transfer him. Wasn't he?
Sorry?
He was in a wheelchair at one stage in the first movie.
Yeah. And the Avatar was originally built for his brother and also other people bullshit as well. But yeah, he was in a wheelchair when he was human. And then at the end of the movie, they transfer him permanently into Avatar or into Na'vi. And then he becomes like one of the warrior leaders, something like that. Whatever's Karumakto or some shit like that. I've seen it a couple times, but
and he marries a Navi, and
yeah,
they have a
Natiri.
family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Jake Sully lives with his newfound family formed on the moon Pandora. Once a familiar threat returns to finish what was previously started, Jake must work with the I'm going to butcher this. Oh, that was one of my lights fell. That's awkward.
Oh, Spewing.
Yeah. I went to catch it and then I almost headbutted my mic. Yeah. Yeah, so you guys will see my movements on the VOD, but everyone who's listening, that's what happened. Jake must work with it's still on, I'll fix it in a sec.
Jake must work with Natiri
and the army of the Navi race to protect their home. So for me, this movie is all of a shade of blue with a different shade of blue. And I've got two really big, I guess, complaints about this film in terms of one, the ocean and everything really just looks like Earth. Like I felt like they were on Earth, which is really annoying. And secondly, everything is blue. Like it's just a different shade of blue. Like for 95% of the movie, everything is blue. I'm gonna fix this light, and you go on a rant.
I go on a rant. Yeah, I agree with that because the first point you had, I agree with both. But I'll get to the first. Yeah, like this is meant to be a far off, distant planet, moon, whatever. It's the same thing. The fact that we are gonna have 4 movies supposedly, and each one's gonna be set with a different like element. We had the forest people first, and the water people supposedly fire and air to come. I like the idea of other planets having completely different elements. Why are we gluing ourselves to Earth-like elements and Earth-like, scenes and whatever, when we could be doing so much more exciting, cool shit? But whatever, it is what it is. And second point, pardon me.
Because it's relatable. They're like, oh, people relate to this.
But why make it relatable if it's a fucking sci-fi? Like that to me was what was so attractive about the first one is, yes, the fact we're in a forest sort of felt Earth-like, but it was also none of the flora or fauna was even close to what we're used to seeing. And as soon as you start going in big open waters, it just looks like Earth's open waters until, there's a whale-looking thing with different, we get you get a lot of introduction, I guess, to different animals, but you're right, it just felt like Earth. And yes, there's a lot of fucking blue. I don't know what else you could have done. Like you building a world with blue people in water. I'm not sure what else you could have really done to avoid that. But you're right, like it wasn't like I lost anything. It wasn't like watching it like I lost details because it was just blue on blue. But the majority of the movie felt like one color palette, and it might as well have been black and white for that sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I guess, and then the other tribe, the water tribe, were like a greeny, tealy kind of.
Yeah, like a aqua sort of blue. Yeah.
And I was expecting them to be more different, I guess, like more. They were just very similar. I feel like when you have more differences in terms of how they establish themselves, but they still run very similar customs. Besides, like
they do.
I guess they're more fishing rather than living off the land.
Yeah, but no more than like an Indigenous community living, like Indigenous Australians living on coastal Australia versus Indigenous Australians living in Central Australia. Like even they had different customs and foods and stories and whatever else. You're right. Like besides they had longer tails that were more like eel looking tails, and they had not webbed feet, but they had like fingers and stuff, and I don't know what it was. They had feet that looked different. I forget. But yeah, you're right. I wanted to know more about their like customs and why they were so different and how they had different connections with the planet because of the water. And I thought they were going to have some underwater cities and cool shit like that. But it just felt like a coastal civilization as opposed to a different race of Na'vi.
Yeah, and the story is very, very basic. Like there's nothing
Same.
There's nothing really new, and it didn't really feel like they furthered the plot rather than obviously they've been attacked from the main, I guess, SWAT guy who trained Sully from the last film. He comes back as a cloned. They put his memories into one of the new Na'vi people, which I really disliked in terms of him coming across. And then there was Spider as well. So some of the Sky people stayed, and there was a Spider, which was a child at the time, grew up with Sully's, I guess, family. So he was integrated in there. There was a bit of he's an outcast, but we're an outcast. Like everyone was an outcast, which they never really resolved. And then, like I guess a spoiler is Spider is the other bloke's son.
His name was Quaritch, the bad guy, the bad human from the first movie, the general guy. Is Quaritch, I think. Stephen Lang is the actor. He did a great job, and I liked him in the first movie. I even wrote in my notes, I wrote, it's stupid they brought back the same guy, but I kind of like him, so Like, would it have been better if I had a new bad guy? Maybe, but I don't give a shit.
But he never really seemed really bad in terms of like, I was expecting his revenge plot to like come in and absolutely wreck everything in terms of being a real menace. But really, they were just tracking the whales or whatever they're called. I don't know what they were called.
Yeah, whatever the fuck those. This is called them whales. They're for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much whales.
Yeah. So they were like tracking them, and they were just in their ships and traveling around. I was expecting him to like capture civilizations and just come in and like just kill whoever to get his revenge on Sully, but he was more covert operations, which the other guys in their elite training in these newfound bodies, they were not very good in terms of fighting against. I guess
I thought when we saw him come in as a Na'vi, I thought he was going to be like infiltrating and like double crossing people, and okay, cool, he's gonna go down a more aggressive path, and then he just didn't. He sort of just fired us around. They rode some dragon bird things, got to the end. They had a fight that lasted fucking 45 minutes, and then that was it. Like,
like there was so many scenes that were dragged out, and like the scenes with the sons and like their integration, which was very we're the outcast, we'll have a fight, we will then feel like we're making friends, then we'll be betrayed, and then all of a sudden we'll become friends later on. Like it was very, very generic. Then the daughter was able to connect with I got so lost in this part. She was able to connect with something, which then the Sigourney Weaver's character Kiri was able to had some interworking dialogue with her that you've come, I've been waiting for you. Where I'm confused in terms of the relevance to that. I think because I've only seen the Avatar film once.
I also lost track of who, because she was meant to be Sigourney Weaver's daughter from the first movie. And we see at the end of the first movie, we see Sigourney Weaver's character become a Na'vi, but then we see her in some sort of containment death tank thing in this movie, and I wasn't sure. Like they might have mentioned it, but again, there was too much shit being dumped on me. I wasn't sure if she died or if this was like a reincarnation because it looked exactly like her. I was a little confused on who she was as well. But yeah, I think at the end she was meant to be deeply connected to their mother nature, whatever they call her, I forget. But yeah.
Well, I would have preferred the conversation with Mother Nature rather than Sigourney Weaver, because then I'm confused. I also thought she was Sully's daughter.
Oh, they I think they're raising her, like more or less adopted her. Right. And that's why they're calling her mum and dad. But I don't think again, it could be wrong because if I'm honest, I didn't pay 100% attention. But I'm pretty sure that they were like adopted. Well, sorry, they adopted her into the family.
Right.
She was raised as their own.
I guess that makes more sense. Because I was confused confused on that one. But then she was just able to control all like the sea life for someone who was part of the woods and whatever. She was able to have more control over the people that have lived in the ocean their entire lives.
But I think it was more to do with her connection with Mother Nature, and that Mother Nature controls all.
Yeah. I don't know. But she wasn't really
it wasn't really explained.
Wasn't controlling the tide or anything. It was more like she was controlling the aqua life
The animals.
or whatever. Where I would have liked more of her changing the currents and the different bits and pieces if it was more Mother Nature rather than the actual animals.
What do they call it? They call it they call it something. The connectedness that whatever.
I don't know, the circle of life or something or other.
To Dart, I'm very sick of, and this is maybe from, I don't have kids sort of thing, but I'm pretty sick of my children are in danger as a motivator for characters. It's all the time. It's not just in not cheap, but it's not just in lazy movies like this. I think my children being in danger, or my children being kidnapped, or my children being in any sort of threat, and I need to uplift my life and that sort of stuff. Like, yes, it probably would be a motivator. I understand that, of course.
It's a very big motivator.
Of course it is, but it seems like really lazy writing when we could do so much more.
Where would they go with it? Like, they brought back the baddie for the connection with Sully, and it's like, obviously Sully wants it out for whatever he's Quantage, whatever his name is, wants it out. Yeah, he wants it out for Sully. And like, what leverage he's going to do, he's probably going to go after his family. Like,
well, if Sully never had kids, if this was based a year after instead of 13, 14 years, whatever it was, what would be motivated then? It would be keep my community alive. It would be maybe Quaritch comes in and just burns down the forest, and they have to relocate because their home's been destroyed. Like, I just think that my children are in danger. It's too easy these days.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anything could have saved this film, really.
No, I know.
Unless there's some magical thing in the next film that's like going to tie a massive overarching plot in there, and there's like an all-out war on Earth where the Na'vi all of a sudden develop spaceships and go to Earth and have a full-out war. Like, I can't see this being overly exciting for the next one.
And the next one, like, a big bad thing of this one was that it felt like the same movie. It had the same bad guys. It had the same threat of the humans wanting to come and fuck up the Na'vi. I mean, they had different motivations this time, but that's about it. It felt like the exact same movie. There was, the message of the invaders versus the indigenous. There was the message, like the theme of, animals being hurt and tortured and that sort of animal rights message in there as well. It had all the same themes. It presented nothing new to me that the first one didn't.
Yeah. I also can't see what they're going to do with the third one when they go to fire. Like, what are they going to be able to ride? Like, lava monsters, or like how far-fetched is it going to be? Like, are they going to be rock flying things? Are they going to be like, it's just going to be a red filter with some brown, red and brown.
Red and brown
with some
red, brown, and blue.
Yeah, like, what color are the Na'vi going to be this time? Like, what shade? Are they going to be more of a brown, and then you're going to have the blue? I don't know. It's just,
that's kind of exciting. That's the only part that I'm excited about, I guess, is to learn about those new Na'vi. But I could read or watch a 10-minute YouTube video about that. Like, I don't need a 3-hour long movie to experience something that, like, I would rather one movie, 2.5 hours, have all the Na'vi, spend half an hour with each of them, come up with some sort of plot to bring them together, like in the first movie, figure out a way to wrap it up. Like, I don't need 4 movies that are 3 hours long to re-explore the same themes over and over and over again. It's fucking long, man. It's a long ass movie.
Long. I had to do it in 2 sittings. I reckon I did.
Yeah.
I did 2 hours on the first one, and I was like, nah, that's it. This is it. I've had enough. And then I revisited for the next hour and 12 minutes or something or other. It's 3 hours and 12 minutes long.
Yes. And like I rewatched there's a movie called The Irishman, Martin Scorsese film on Netflix. That's 3.5 hours. I rewatched that yesterday because I felt like it. That doesn't feel anywhere near as long. It's longer, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as long because scenes have purpose. I feel like in this movie, they almost decided the runtime before they decided the scenes. Like you're saying before about the scenes with the kids making friends and whatnot. Like, I don't need all that. That doesn't mean anything to me.
No, not unless
I
Sully's
thought
going to die or something, and they're going to take
exactly. I was about
over.
to say the same shit. If Sully was gonna die, that's what I thought. I thought they were leading up to Sully dying at the end of this movie, and then, I mean, spoilers. We found out that his eldest son died, and because we're spending so much time with that second son, I thought, okay, cool. This is the movie where main character dies, older brother dies, and our second born son takes on the mantle and becomes the patriarch. He becomes the provider, the looker after her. But no, we didn't get any of that. It was I didn't care about his son dying at the end. It meant nothing.
They also touched on like the mutation of the hands. So like Sully's
Mm-hmm.
kids have the mutation of, was it four fingers?
They're four fingers, yeah,
Yeah.
because they're not. Yeah.
But after the introduction with the other Navi tribe, they were like, they never touched on any of that again. It was like, no, okay, cool.
Mm.
I was
There's a bit of
expecting.
bullying for it later. Like
It
Sigourney Weaver's daughter's character was like, "Oh, why am I a freak? Why am I so different?"
not
But
really. That was more of a like, we're outcasts in this
yeah,
new settlement rather than we're
yes,
actual mutations of a
yes,
tribe. That
hmm
was, I don't know, like they're trying to push so many messages, and that's
hmm
why it's just an average plot with a blue filter on it.
yeah,
Like, yes, the CGI is good. Like the
of course,
characters look pretty good. The weird
looks
thing
amazing.
was the frame rate in the higher action scenes. The frame rate goes real weird when things are exploding. You've got Navi running around everything, and like the explosion in the background seemed to drop massively in terms of how the frames go. And then the people in the
Yeah,
front look a little bit odd. I don't know if you caught that, but that was like right at the end.
yeah. Maybe I should have watched it in stints because I definitely just tuned out at moments. Little things like that, I definitely didn't notice towards the end. No.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I don't know if they filmed it in like 30 frames and then 60 frames, and then
Mm,
they couldn't get quite the things to go, so they dropped the seconds for the edits and tried to pass it off with a big explosion, like old Michael
I don't.
Bay. But
So much of me wants to say no, that's not possible because you can't throw this much money at something and make errors like that. But
oh, you can.
probably, fucking probably, if you don't care, probably.
I think it
Um,
would probably be an oversight though. Like you've got so much things going on, like in terms of all this
mhm.
new technology. They had to create cameras to film underwater at certain frames, and
Yep.
I I can see that those things would be an
Yeah.
oversight. Like you wouldn't notice that until post, and then you'd be like, "We just
Too
spent
late
$2
now.
billion. We're
Yep.
not we're not reshooting that."
And it's the mindset that I was saying how I hate like illumination films. The mindset of we're allowed to not give a shit a little bit because we're going to be fine. We're going to make money regardless. If we throw enough money at this, we'll make money regardless. And
Yeah,
that's why I feel like the writing was so lazy. And that's why I feel like a lot of the scenes were pandering because they can get away with it. They know they fucking will. No one's watching this to watch a movie with really good plot and amazing in depth characters. We're watching this for how can this much money be spent? And it looked great. It looked pretty. There's blue, but looked pretty.
they did that with the first one. Like
Yeah.
the plot of the first one's not great,
No.
and they do the same
It's
messages. It was just because it was the first one that incorporated the
yep.
actual 3D technology.
Yep. And it looked stunning. Like credit to it. Um, until you look at like May. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say Maze Runner. Oh my god, what's the Harrison Ford movie?
Blade
Blade
Runner.
Runner. You look at Blade Runner and Star Wars and those sorts of things, and how they were such pioneers for science fiction and for those sorts of world buildings and whatever else for those times. I think Avatar did that well in the first, but you've got to do something new with the second. you've got to have, like, Star Wars did so well and continues to do so because it has such in-depth lore with really amazing characters and world building.
Yeah.
This,
Well,
whatever.
they almost killed it with the prequels.
Yeah,
Prequels weren't great.
I don't know. I love them.
Even the sequels are they're okay.
Oh, sequel trilogy is terrible.
More than episode 1.
Yes. Oh, I will argue to the death. I will argue to the death that the prequel trilogy, episode 1, 2, and 3, far outshine episodes 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the argument right now, but it's facts. Absolute facts.
Yeah. That's
one thing I mentioned I wrote in my notes is there's a fucking moment in this at the end. And actually, first I'll say how goddamn long. I mentioned it before, but I didn't give it enough weight. The fucking end climax, Act 3, when everything's kicking off, we had the fight with the whales, and then we had the fight with the ship, and then the ship went down, and there was a fight on this burning ship, and then there was the escape sequence, and things just kept happening and happening and happening and happening, and I was just waiting for it to wrap up. That to me was the most boring part. After watching 2.5 hours, we're sitting through this rubber band being just pulled non-stop. You've got to release rubber band. We're getting so much tension, and it meant nothing, and it was boring as shit. And there's a moment where they were surrounded by a ring of fire. They're in the fucking water. Swim under the fire. They are swimming people. They are a lot of them having spent all this time swimming. Swim under the fucking fire. They've done that in other movies. James Bond did it. Swim under the fire. It's not that difficult. Anyway, it was a long movie. It was a waste of my time. I actually got mad watching it.
Yeah, and then you came on the stream and you were so grumpy that day.
It was for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe this was why.
It was why.
I just feel like at the moment my time isn't that precious. I haven't got that much to do with my life. But 3 hours is like, I'm playing Pokemon at the moment. I'd rather play Pokemon for 3 hours than watch this shit.
Is that the new Pokemon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having good fun.
What would you give this movie then?
Like a 1.5. It's pretty. And there are some moments where there are moments we met the new people. I was like, this is cool to see the new Na'vi and like the different tails, and we're seeing the water, and there was probably about half an hour of actual enjoyment. But most of it's just long and wasteful, and it did nothing new. So 1.5.
Yeah, I gave it 2. It was blue, it felt like Earth. There were moments where I was like, that was kind of cool. Besides that, there wasn't really anything going for it. Like the plot's generic, everything about it is essentially generic. So it's a 2. I wouldn't recommend anyone sit through it and spend 3 hours and 12 minutes on it. Unless you feel like you've got FOMO, probably watch it in like 2.5 speed, or wait for someone to edit it down on YouTube. I'm sure they did it with The Hobbit. I'm sure they'll do it with Avatar as well. Like the first hour of The Hobbit is a waste. Like the whole introduction
a lot of The Hobbit's a waste, man. That should have been one movie. That should have been 1 2.5 hour movie and moved on with our lives.
I can't believe they got 3 movies from like a 200-page book. That's insane.
200-page children's book.
Yeah. that's
Hobbit. There's a lot to talk about with The Hobbit.
There's some extending they've done there.
Yeah,
I feel like the Avatar is a 200-page book as well, if they're going to write a book.
Yeah, that they've tried turning into. By the end, it's going to be 12 hours of content. Like, that's like 2 seasons of a show, and you're just dicking around with the same people on the same planet.
Yep.
Like, come on. Yeah.
Let's move on.
Moving on.
So M3gan with a 3, not an E. Even the poster confuses me. Like, they've just got 3 lines.
3 lines, yeah.
Like, just put it as an E. You don't.
But
need
it's not.
Be...
It's model. It's M3gan.
Don't care. You don't
it's
have
like
to
model
be fancy.
3.
No,
blah, blah, blah,
it doesn't matter. They still call it M3gan. M3gan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'm glad. I'm actually glad, because I feel like if I had to search M3gan, M-E-G-A-N, as a movie title, I'd get 1,000 other things. It's probably even already a movie called M3gan.
All right,
so,
Mr. Art House.
I'm just saying it's good to separate it from everything else.
It's not. It's a dull horror film. Like, it's how much separation do you need, mate?
Like, true. Yeah, let's not give it too much. Yeah. All right, fair. But still.
No.
There's a movie in 2020 called Megan.
Yeah, of course there is. It's a
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
The name. That's why
Yeah.
at least this separates itself.
No. 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 No.
No,
No.
fuck you. You're not allowed to.
So this is our newest horror film, which has been
Mm.
making a bit of a stir because everyone, well, our generation had Chucky, which is the
Yeah.
killer doll. We also had the Goosebumps. I can't remember what that was called, but that thing was terrifying as a kid. I hated it. Night of the
Yeah.
Living Dummy. I can't remember exactly what the actual doll's name is, but I remember I wouldn't read that story because the doll would give me the creeps.
Slappy the Dummy.
Yeah, he was creepy looking.
Yep.
I hated it.
He was. Ventriloquist
yeah.
dummies are real creepy.
Yeah. And I think they've captured a lot of that creepiness in this model in terms of how Megan looks. So this is a robot engineer at a toy company builds a lifelike doll that begins to take on a life of its own. So our main girl, Caddy, she's just your average go lucky kind of girl who's living her life with her family, where unfortunately they're involved in a car accident and the parents die, and she's then taken in by the aunt, which the aunt was Aunt Gemma.
Aunt Gemma, yeah.
So Aunt Gemma takes
Alison
her in.
Williams.
Yep, she's the robotic engineer who was making. They reminded me of the Furby toy, so our generation would kind of remember the Furby toy, which had a connection with the online simulation where how to look after them. And
it reminded me of the episode of The Simpsons where they help a toy company build Funzo.
Oh, that's right.
Like, Funzo loves you and whatever. Like that reminded me so much of Funzo, that first prototype.
Yeah, I remembered Furbies because I was like, Furbies are kind of cool.
Yeah, Furbies pretty much. I mean, Funzo is pretty much based on Furbies anyway. But yeah. Please continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. So she's taken in. The old aunt is working on the Furbies, and then against the boss's wishes is essentially building Megan, which is a lifelike AI girl doll, which is meant to help parents look after the kids. And then things start to escalate because the boss comes in and finds out. So she all of a sudden has to escalate her timeline and puts the AI self-learning system in there. And here we are.
In a fucking night, mind you.
Yeah. Well,
in one night, she goes from having this idea of, because Katie says something like, if I had a toy like that, I'd never need another toy ever again. And then she's like, oh, wow, brainwave. And she spends all night building this robot. And by the end of the night, she has this fully functioning, walking, talking, AI-driven robot. It's fucking ridiculous.
I mean, I assume she's pretty clever in terms of that. And this is meant to be the third prototype, as you said. Like, I feel like it wasn't just overnight. I feel like it was a thing in progress. She would have already had. We get a little bit of a montage of her creating code. So I'm assuming the code was.
It was a night.
Yeah, but the code was already there. It's the third attempt at this code.
But we see her building it in a night. Like, I don't care how smart you are. You can't do that much welding and that much circuitry work in a matter of hours.
You can if it's a montage.
You can if the movie tells you can.
Yeah.
Because the movie. Yeah, you can if it's a montage. I like that. My bad.
Yeah. I don't know that you need a realistic timeline in terms of how long it takes for old Megan to come alive.
But if you're putting a movie in a realistic world, you've got to. There are some rules, I think. But whatever. It's not a big deal. Just want to point that out.
So after our lovely montage, which they did a much better job than the Mean Ones montage, I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So
fair.
It's better, especially seeing all the code and the welding and the circuitry coming in. We are then presented with Megan, who looks really creepy, and no one else has a problem with how creepy the doll looks. Like, everyone else is like, yeah, this doll looks really cool. I'm like, you look creepy. But no one mentions it.
Have you heard of the Uncanny Valley?
No.
So there's this chart. It's called the Uncanny Valley. If something looks like a robot and it doesn't look anything like a human or an animal, then we know it's robotic and we don't think it looks creepy. But as soon as something attempts to look human-like, but just isn't quite there. It's called the uncanny valley. Okay. So when you see like like a teddy bear's faces with human-like teeth, having those human traits make it uncanny. It's uncanny valley. This fits that exactly. Like it looks almost human, but it's not quite there, so it looks really creepy. And you're right. Why does nobody at this huge toy company go, this might scare children?
Yeah, like no one else has an issue with it. But there's I guess a plot point right at the start where you get introduced to the robots, where the aunt introduces I guess it was the first prototype, wasn't it, with the glove and the movement of the robot that she just randomly has.
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah. So Bruce is just casually chilling there, and that's our first introduction to the robots, which comes
she built Bruce in college, she said.
Yeah, plays a big part later on.
Which is dumb, but
yeah, whatever. It needed something. So we've after Megan is first introduced, and we get the interaction with Caddy and Megan, where Megan and
I think it's Katie, by the way.
Is it? No,
yeah,
Katie.
Katie isn't a name.
I was going to say she carries the movie, but she really doesn't.
No. Katie.
Katie. Yeah, you don't carry it, so you don't get the joke.
You get to be anyway,
Katie. So her and Megan are having their little bonds in terms of how she also sings her to sleep. Like, I don't know. And it's creepy. The dancing, her and Katie have this real dance, and the dancing plays into a scene later on, which is really awkward. Like, I was expecting it to be creepy,
so weird,
but the dance makes it more awkward than scary. Like, if the doll was more just sort of walking and not saying anything and having its creepy stare, I feel like that would have been more terrifying than I'm going to do this childlike dance and then come at you. Which
felt very TikTok generation. It was, it was odd.
Like I don't know, it messed up the horror thing there. Like, nowhere in this was it meant to be comedy, but there were some comical moments.
Definitely.
And the neighbor can get stuffed. The neighbor's so annoying.
You mean like the woman with the dog?
Yeah, like she didn't really further the plot that much. Besides, like, the dog was literally the catalyst of this AI system to further protect Katie.
Yep.
And when the dog bites,
but you need. Go on. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure there is a rule. If a dog bites someone, it has to be like, doesn't it have to be put down, or is like, like, I'm pretty sure that's I don't know if it's American rule, but I'm pretty sure in Australia it's a.
But what are the rules when someone's reaching into your yard? Because that's what happened. The doll reached into the dog's yard. The dog wasn't off lead out in public. I don't know what rules are there.
I don't know.
But fair point.
I don't know. I thought
she's a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, I thought that was the rule. And like, why is there such a massive hole in the yard? Like,
that dog could fit through that gap.
Yeah,
the same thing.
And if you're
just come in,
I know you're a robotic engineer. I feel like a bit of timber or a piece of metal, and you can weld it onto the gate or whatever. Like,
whatever.
I don't think that is beyond your skill set.
But even we see this doll later perform superhuman feats of strength because robot, and yet it's being attacked by a dog and it just sort of goes limp.
I just meant Aunt Gemma. Aunt Gemma is a robotic engineer.
I understand. I understand, but that whole scene, like that it could be, if it was only there to drive the plot.
Wasn't it learning though? It didn't know it had awesome strength. Like, there was no acts of strength before that.
Potentially. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't actually consider that.
I also
maybe.
How is it able to generate so much strength? Like, I don't know how it generated so much force. Like, it wasn't.
Because she's a badass engineer. She can put all sorts of crazy hydraulic shit inside this tiny little robot. I have no idea, man.
I don't know.
We don't argue.
I feel like if you're building a toy for a child, you don't really want it to have superhuman strength to, like, I don't know, casually they're playing tag or wrestling. I don't know if they wrestle.
Yeah, it just kills a kid.
Yeah.
Tag, you're it.
I don't know if they were building them for boys that
It's
are
true.
a little bit more rough and tumble. Like
It's true.
if they're wrestling and this
Mhm.
Megan or whatever is wrestling, is there
true.
a point where he just like crushes you or
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
folds you? Imagine if it was doing the Boston Crab and like just rips your legs over.
I don't
Like
know what the fuck the Boston Crab
Boston
is.
Crab. You never watched WWE?
No, I can't. No, not really.
So when they got him like the person's down on their stomach and they get their legs and they're pulling them back, the old
Oh,
Boston
sure,
Crab.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, right, rip him in half. Yeah,
Yeah.
Megan would. But
So
also, she gets lifted up a few times. They just pick her up and walk off with her. But yet, she's meant to be almost superhuman in strength. Like physics tells us, you can't have both. You can't be super, super strong without being heavy. Like you can't put out the force that you don't intrinsically contain.
maybe she's got like Iron Man boosters in her legs. She's like letting air go to help lift her.
And everything's just perfectly hidden inside this little girl's frame.
Yeah.
Let's not pick apart the realism of this robot.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's
It
a
was
lot of
actually,
holes there.
yeah. It was also played by another young actress,
Yep.
Amy Donald. So
Yeah.
was it like a skin prosthetic over the top, like the mask?
I'm assuming, yeah, with a mask, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because her head does look a little big for the body as well. So I'm assuming it's just, face mask prosthetics.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the mask obviously sold it because there's not a heap of facial features that sort of happen. Like there's not
No.
heaps of smiling or whatever. So I'm guessing it's just due to the mask. But I felt like she did a reasonable job as the actual doll itself.
The movements look really good. I like
Yeah.
the way the robot. It's like the robot. I like the way Megan moved. I like her even like when there's one point which is in like the play area, with Katie, and she goes from standing to sort of kneeling next to her, and even in that movement, like sort of one body movement at a time. Yeah, for a kid to carry that quite well, I think she must have some dancing background as well because she isolated beautifully. It was cool.
Also, why would you all of a sudden rush this project and you're like, oh no, I forgot a failsafe?
I know.
Like, it seemed very convenient in terms of how they want to escalate this. But the first hour of the film, there's not much is really happening. It was more like I wouldn't even really call it a psychological thriller. It was like how AI integrates into the world, I guess, in terms of
and it was raising a few interesting questions. Like there's a moment where one of the other engineers that Aunt what's her friggin' name again? Aunt Gemma works with says, if this kid is reading stories to your kids, if this robot is reading stories to your kids and helping teach your kids and teaching them right or wrong and all this other stuff, then how much are you taking away from the parent? And it raised a really interesting point. I like that sort of message, and that, if we do end up going down a road of AI, which we will, we're getting there already, how much are we actually trusting these things to help raise our kids? Not even just help, sometimes actually doing the raising.
Yeah.
And that's what Megan was doing. And I liked that. And I liked how Katie over time was becoming quite resentful with Aunt Gemma, because Aunt Gemma hasn't had a hand in raising her. Megan has. And I like that back and forth, but it meant nothing. It didn't actually serve the end of the film. So it sort of felt like a loose plot point.
Well, even Katie's outburst, it seemed out of character of sorts.
Yeah,
like
it did.
I don't know what the time period this was like over, but like it felt like only a couple of days. Like for Katie and Megan to form the bond and the sudden outburst, and there wasn't really Katie ever dealing with the grief of like losing her parents, living with her aunt. Like there was no sort of she's struggling to deal with the loss of her parents and her situation. It was just here's a robot, go play with it, and then all of a sudden there was just her like kicking the seat in the car, and
Yeah, yeah,
The outburst just seemed out of place. Like I didn't
yep,
really have the connection of why she was, having the outburst.
yep.
Like you can obviously put logic together. She's having it because of all those other things,
Of
but
course.
they never expanded on any of that.
No, we have to sort of make up our own connections. And I think, like I said before, like this movie has a lot of moments where like the answer is because movie. Like they needed to drive the plot somehow. You know, when you're working in an hour 42, there's got to be some moments, I guess, where they throw logic out the window a little bit. But you're right. Like the plot points sometimes weren't linked. Like there was probably a strong movie here somewhere, but we didn't quite hit it. And I probably would have preferred this if it was down like a Black Mirror sort of pathway where it wasn't about the horror. It was more about, like I said before, about like sharing what it means to be a parent and whose responsibility is what, and all those sorts of psychological turmoil things would have been probably a better movie in my eyes. But it wasn't made for that. It was made to be a dumb money making horror. So whatever.
100%. This is the new horror franchise. I
Yeah, and
bet
they
you
fucking set up a sequel at the end. God damn it.
they will get a sequel. There's no way they're not getting a sequel. You can't push a
You saw the
movie.
setup, yeah?
Yeah, you can't push the movie this hard not to get a sequel from it though.
But it looks like the next sequel they set up was the AI in the house, Elsie, which I'm guessing is meant to be like Alexa.
Yep.
She seemed like to have a consciousness at the end. Or like she had a little like all there was like a little boop of a thing moving in the house, and we're like, oh, it's so we actually don't know if Negan has somehow transferred her internal person into the house or some shit. Because in the end as well, this thing became like a master hacker. It could communicate with any technology, like the car, the house. Pardon me. It communicated with everything, and it just became like all powerful, and it made no sense.
Yeah.
That's AI supposedly.
Yeah, that's how quick it learns because there's no failsafe. So even if they did put a failsafe in, I'm sure they would have overrid it somehow. It was just easier to go, there's no failsafe.
Which must have a power source. Everything has a power source. What fuels her? Is she have batteries? Cool.
Solar power.
But even then, like, you know, your phone, say you're using, I don't know, your phone is not a good example these days. Say you're on a calculator or using a camera at work, right? You're using when your camera's at work, the camera's doing weird things, it's not responding to your buttons. The first thing you do, you pop out the battery, pop it back in, you fix it. As soon as anything goes wrong with my technology, my first point of call is to remove the battery or whatever. Take her fucking battery out. Whatever is powering her, boom, gone. Like, I don't like when movies have a simple answer to solve everything because it just ruins the validity of the film.
Yeah. Then there's a number, especially when the killings did start, and there's very minimal killings in terms of a horror film. Normally,
yeah, it's probably 5.
I thought it was about 4. Well, I guess there's the 2 in the elevator.
Well, I count the dog, I suppose.
Yeah. The
You got
neighbor,
dog owner. You got the 2 scientists. You got
and
the main guy, like the leading toy man thing.
yeah, oh yeah, 5.
So yeah, like 5. Yeah, which you're right, isn't much.
No, and it could have been a really creepy atmosphere. Like they could have done so much more with it, but they missed it. And I don't know. I will probably watch the sequel. Just
I probably will.
just to
I
see.
didn't hate this.
No, I think they're onto something. They just didn't execute as well as they needed to establish a new horror franchise.
Yep.
And like from looking at the old director, he's a new director. He's got 5 things under his name. So 3 are TV shows and 1 is called Housebound.
Sure.
So he's only started in 2008. So he's
just the director. I'd be more curious to know about the writers and stuff and their background because I feel like it was directed fine. Like it was very safe, I guess, in its directing.
Yeah.
Writing credits. Luke Cage, American Horror Story 100. Yeah, not bad. To this, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Some of the things annoyed me with this were like there were some inconsistencies with her voice. Like some moments she had this almost auto-tuned voice, and other times she sounded really robotic. And I was trying to figure out if it was like there's moments where I was like, oh, maybe it's robotic in the times where M3gan is acting on her own accord and going against her protocol in some way and starting to be evil. But then that went out the window a little bit. Some of that was like an intentional inconsistency, but something I just picked up. I also find some of the like my parents died in a car accident and I have to go live with my auntie who doesn't know how to raise kids. That's so fucking played out. We saw that. What was the movie we watched a little while ago where dad died and the daughter went and lived with
Oh, that was the Netflix one, Dreamland or something or other. With
Slumberland.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Christ,
they didn't like it either.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, Slumberland. That is exact same setup, just with obviously a different path. But it's so like it's overdone to shit. And then the same with AI. Like I must protect my primary user at all costs, and that justifies my actions. That's been done 100 times as well. Nothing in this was original.
I would have preferred the parents to stay alive and the aunt being like, "Here, try this out," and then the parents die, like in a car accident, and then
because the parents dying didn't actually drive the plot. It connected Gemma and M3gan, but we could have done that without the death and had a more original sort of setup. But look, all in all, I'm shitting on it. I actually had a pretty okay time. I wouldn't say it's good. It's not a 3 or above. But it was inoffensive. It was shot fine. Some of the scenes are pretty fun. I think M3gan came across like an AI robot. It didn't feel like a kid in a costume, which is, good within itself. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It had a lot of plot holes and the writing was pretty bad, but it wasn't the worst movie I've seen.
So what'd you give it?
Yeah, like a 2.5.
Okay.
I think it's better than Avatar.
Yeah. I didn't mind it. Actually, I had a good time, and I can see where they're going with it. Like, if someone said, "Should I watch it?" I'm like, I would probably say yes. In terms of they're setting up for it'll be the next horror franchise. So if you like, sort of, it's not quite like Chucky level. Like, obviously, Chucky has that menacing sort of. He's going to run around, creep you out, and then like stab you to death. Like, I'm wondering,
wasn't Chucky? Sorry, continue.
Chucky was a serial killer, and then his soul got put into a doll. So that's I guess that's the difference.
Very different setup.
I would have liked the killings, even the elevator killing scene without the dance. And as I was saying before, if it walked down there with its cold detachment, that's kind of what I want. What I want in terms of you've established this as an AI. It's not going to have the same compassion or like emotions as a human. Like I want that cold detachment sort of killings.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That's what I want, and especially if they're going to go into that smart house killing sort of frenzy, whatever it's going to do. I want it like to Margot. I want it to be detached. I want it to have its own. This is my endpoint. It doesn't matter what I got to do to get there.
Make that happen. Yeah,
like it
very
needs,
much like computers, point A to point B.
Yeah,
if or else,
it needs to be calculated, cold, and detached for it to really sell this. But I would recommend it to people in terms of it's well directed. It looks pretty, and if you like horror films, you're probably going to have at least an okay time with it. So it's a 3 for me.
I do wish it was a higher rating in terms of like the classification because it's only 15 or whatever it is. Like, and a lot of the violence we saw was off camera. The first murder we see of the dog, we don't see anything. The murder we see of the dog's owner, we don't see anything. We see the guy sort of getting hanged, and then he comes down, and then we just see that like a lot of it is just off camera stuff, and then reveal, and then off camera stuff and reveal. And I think that also hurts the horror genre. Like if you're going to go horror, you sort of need to show us the horror. not just make us think we saw the horror.
Yeah, I guess that's what the thriller tagline is for, though. Like
Yeah.
if they dropped that and actually just went the horror and just showed us the horror, it would have come across better.
Yeah, like I said, I would have preferred this if it was down more of a. Have you seen Her? I think I mentioned to you before the
Maybe.
Joaquin Phoenix, Scarlett Johansson film. It's an AI film again, where it's like a man who falls in love with an AI, just the voice.
No, I don't reckon I have.
But that approaches a lot of really good questions about what AI is and when does AI become human and what sort of connections are right and wrong to form with AIs. This, I think, would have been better presented down that road rather than trying to stuff in a horror in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Fair. But that's enough of Megan. She can go reboot somewhere else.
Would you give it a 3, you said?
Yeah, I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
I would if someone asked to watch it, I'd say just be prepared that the first hour not much happens.
Yeah.
But we're moving on to Kaleidoscope, which is Netflix's newest blockbuster miniseries, and this is centered around the largest heist ever attempted, the vengeance and betrayals that surround it. So this is its biggest draw card, and the advertising thing that they brought around it is that you can watch it in any order as long as you watch White last.
Sure.
So coming into this, like that's a lot of hype. Like that's a really cool tagline in terms of coming into it. In my mind, I made connections to Sea Monkeys. Sea Monkeys as a kid. All right, I'll get to the point. I can see.
I'm waiting.
I can see your face. So, Sea Monkeys, when you see it as a kid, you get real hyped for it. Like you were so hyped that you could have these sea monkeys, and you're like really excited. And then, like that's the same type of hype I had around this. Like you can watch it in any order, and it's going to come in there. But as soon as you get there, you're like disappointed. Like once you got your sea monkeys and you opened it, and you see these little, like, what are they? I think they're krill or shrimp or something.
Yeah, like krill or some shit. Yeah.
And like they're really not that cool. Where I felt like going into, after I watched 3 episodes of this and realized what they've done to make you able to watch it in any order, I was disappointed. Like it's not taking away from the show. It's just I got bundled into that hype. And that's why I thought of Sea Monkeys in terms of how you get around it.
They were brine shrimp, by the way.
Yeah. Like, apparently that guy was extremely clever in terms of how he advertised, and he made
genius
money on it.
Genius. For something that it costs nothing to produce. And they're selling, you can buy them for cents, but they cost even less, you know?
Yeah, what was it, like $10, $20 for Sea Monkeys or something?
Yeah, back then. Yeah. Now you can get them for a couple dollars because no one gives a shit anymore.
Yeah.
But about Sea Monkeys at her work in her office.
Oh, really? Yeah. So what order did we watch it in? We watched yellow.
We watched yellow, green, blue.
Yellow, green, blue. Yep. So
which I'll go into by saying that each episode is a different point in time leading up to this heist. So the first one we watched was yellow, which is 6 weeks before the heist, and we watched green, which is 7 years before the heist, and then we watched blue, which is 5 days before the heist. Because, and like you said, because you can watch this in any order, that it does feel a little bit different in its presentation. Like you almost, it's, how do I put it? It's weird to know where to start. And it's also a little bit intimidating because I don't know where the best place to start is. And while I can go online and look up people's suggestions, I wish, like there's an end episode, I kind of wish there was a first episode. And they told us, this is where you should start, get to know the characters, get to know this and that, whatever. And then this is where you should end. And then you can fill in the middle where you want. But maybe that's also not the point. I think yellow was a good place to start. I'm actually really glad we did start there because in yellow, it is almost like, you know, Ocean's 11 where they're getting the crew together and you get to meet all the characters and their sort of intricacies, and you get some little plot points here and there where you're asking questions, and some of those answered a bit later on, obviously. But that being said, I still have no idea who Roger Salas is, the guy who they're they're stealing from. Oh my god, I'm burping so much today. Sorry. Leo Papp, who is Giancarlo Esposito, he is like the main character or whatever, and he keeps saying, this guy ruined me and he took everything from me. He can't take my daughter and all this other stuff. And I still have no idea why or how that's happened. And I kind of wish I knew a little bit more of that so that I could have a bit more understanding of his motivations in Blue. We're about to. I didn't finish Blue. I mentioned now I didn't actually finish that in time for the podcast today. But I kind of wish we had an episode where we got to see some of the history and some of the present and a little bit of bits and pieces from everything, and then we get to piece everything together. Like, it's like, to me, building a puzzle and doing it with or without the box art. You know, you do it with the box art, you at least know what you should be aiming for and what information you need. Whereas without the box art, it's sort of like, where do I even begin? Yeah, I'm surprised you're disappointed though. I actually really enjoyed this and really want to watch a lot more.
Oh, I'm not saying it's bad in any shape or form. I'm just saying the hype of you can watch in any order, I felt let down by. Like, I don't know. I would have just preferred them to have a start point and an end point in terms of. I really like how the characters are interacting with each other. I really like Jai Courtney's character, Bob Goodwin.
You would.
Yeah,
I know you would.
He's great. I love him, and he's the old Australian.
I didn't know he was in this. As soon as I saw him, I thought, "Oh, Jay's gonna love him."
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it either. And then his interaction, like he plays the bogan, and he's definitely got a Australian theme sort of spun into it. And I
know, and everything Australian in every movie, they've got to be bogan or violent or aggressive or
he's just he's a full different tone shift in terms of where he's coming in. So
he's a loose cannon. Every crew has a loose cannon.
Yeah, and he plays it well. But I
definitely.
would have. So my biggest downfall is you can watch it from any point. Where I liked the first episode, Yellow, where it is getting the crew together. I would have liked more of the expanding on who the crew are, because then I would have liked the flashback of when you have Paps in jail and also Stan in jail. Like, I would have probably preferred that more drip fed in terms of the flashbacks. Like, that would have been a more interesting way to do it, rather than spending an entire episode on them in jail and escaping. Like, that's what I would have preferred. Like, I don't know. I just really want to start, experience the journey, and have the rises, the downfalls, and then obviously, are they going to overcome it? Aren't they going to overcome it?
Yeah. Like, it's hard to pace a show like this where you can watch it in any order, because I wrote in my notes, it kind of feels like a different genre from episode to episode, because you've got different, like the first episode, Yellow, there was a heist, like a mini jewelry heist at the end, so they can make enough money to afford the big heist.
Yeah, and that was a cool heist. Like, I liked it. That
was sick. And I like how we don't need to be shown all the planning of some things. Sometimes it's nice in a heist to just get us there and then let us experience it like we are witnesses. And I like that. And the second movie, the build and the payoff was Leo Papp, or Giancarlo Esposito's character, escaping jail. And I'm excited. I at least every episode I've seen so far does have it's almost its own 3-act structure within. But you're right, that's not how TV shows sort of need to work. We need to have almost entire episodes where we're sort of building and getting to the next, and then there are set piece episodes. There's so many shows out there that follow that format that I think work better because of it.
Yeah.
But at least it's something new. Like, I always appreciate, and I said this a few times on podcasts, I'll always appreciate people trying something new. Like the whole I'm not sure if you watched it, the Black Mirror Bandersnatch. It was a an interactive movie where you can make character choices within the movie. I didn't like it. I've only watched it once, whereas I've watched the Black Mirror series probably a dozen times. But it's new. It's something different. They're trying things. Like, I'd rather you throw shit at the fan and not at the fan, sorry, at the wall and try and make things stick than just leave it on the floor. Like, why not just try everything? So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I got sold into the hype, and I thought that was a really cool idea, and like it definitely generated hype for the show and for Netflix. Yeah. But you've got well acted enough here in terms of this big heist. You got enough mystery around it. Like, you could have just advertised it as a really good crime show. Like, there's the money heist as well that's doing really well, and that's not watching in any order. You watch it from start to finish and people are still loving that. Like, it just feels like a gimmick.
Yeah, that's fair. And I probably wouldn't have watched this if it was just another heist movie. So I guess the gimmick works, right?
Yeah.
Movie series, but yeah.
Yeah, feels gimmicky, and I felt let down by the gimmick in terms of you can watch it in any order.
Yeah. Because it does open a world of problems. Like, I feel like, and this was the intimidating factor. There are times where, as a writer, as a director, as a screenwriter, whatever, there are times where you want your audiences to know certain information, and there are times where you don't want them to know certain information. And if you're creating something, you've got to create every single episode with the idea in mind that they haven't seen any previous episodes. And I think that within itself creates its problems. But it's still like, I'm just sort of ignoring the fact that I could have watched any order. I'm just sort of watching the order that I'm presented with, and pretending that that's the sequence they wanted me to watch it in. And because I really like rewatching things, I guess that does open me up to a little bit of excitement to rewatch this in a different order with a different mindset, knowing more about the characters. So, yeah.
I
think
probably won't watch it again, but I'm definitely going to watch the remaining episodes and just see how it all goes out and how it plays out, because it's good. It's good. It's good heist, good crime, interesting characters. Like, what would you give it?
I've given it a 4 so far.
Okay.
I think it's still really good. It's very stylistic. Obviously, actors like Giancarlo Esposito is one of my favorite actors at the moment. Everything he's in, he does an amazing job in. I like it for what it is so far. I'm loving it. It's a 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4 as well, but I wanted to take half a star off just for the gimmick, but I can't.
That's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really good, but I'm gonna keep it at a 4. But just know that I took half a star off because of the gimmick.
Yeah, but it's hard to say. It's sort of difficult to place at the moment, just because I don't know if I'm watching it in a good order. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah, that sea monkey gimmick. Get you.
Love sea monkeys.
So if you're looking on Netflix, make sure you give it a look. It's definitely worth having a look. Just know that the gimmick sells you, so be prepared for that. Also, don't buy sea monkeys. they're always a letdown.
I kind of feel like just to add one more thing. I kind of feel like I would, if I was going to rewatch this again and I was watching this on my own, I would probably go online somewhere and find a suggested order, because I think even though there's no right or wrong way of watching this, I think there's certain information that at this point I wish I knew.
Wouldn't it just be in timeline of events, like the furthest away from?
Yes and no. I feel like chronological is probably a good order to watch it, but also I kind of like I said, I like that we started with yellow, because I think you get introduced to the characters first and then you find out some backstory, like Orange is the New Black sort of style. I'm not sure chronological is the way I would like to watch this, but I still would have liked some sort of guidance, or like I said, at least a first episode or whatever. But yeah, if you're going to watch it, I'd probably suggest going online somewhere and finding someone's suggested order. Personally.
Yeah, that's fair. But boy, do we have a big episode for you guys next week. It
Woo.
is the menu. So,
Looks great.
okay. I know absolutely nothing about the first two that we're actually going to watch. So, you reckon it looks great? We'll be the judge of that.
Can you tell you what it is, or you just want to go in blind?
I'm going to go in blind. I got.
Sure.
What's it on though? Is it out in cinemas? Is it a streaming? Or
That's
is
a
it?
great question.
Because
It is.
it's all. What do you got? Anything?
No idea.
Okay, cool. And
I actually don't know. I think it's going to movies, cinemas.
Okay. And then also another movie, which we haven't seen number one, but we're going to watch number two. So this is going to be fun. It's called Don't Fuck in the Woods 2.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
I have no idea how. I just watched like a tiny section of the trailer, and God, it looks terrible.
Good. I'm going to go in blind with that too. And then I really like my Gundams. I really like the models, and there's a new model coming out for the new series, which is called Gundam Witch from Mercury. So I only really like to buy the models if I like the show and I like the pilot and the Gundam. So this one's just my personal. I want to see if I want to get the model or not. So I've actually got two models that I haven't built yet.
Watching it.
Yeah, that's why we're watching it. I just wanted to be transparent. But as you can see, for all the people on the Vodcast, as you can see, this is one Gundam model that I haven't actually built yet, but this is from Gundam 00. So it's the main Gundam from that.
Have you built any Gundams before?
Yeah, but unfortunately, my kids got hold of my other model, and it is now in pieces. Yeah, because that was a couple of years back. And
are they glue kits or snap kits?
Snaps.
Nice.
Because
like old Zoids.
Yeah, these are the high grade, and then you've got like higher grades into the master grades, which are like 900 to 1,000, but they're massive, of course. Like they're huge. And then I've also got the Gundam Seed Gundam as well.
Oh, yeah, classic.
I'm going to build these ones. Yeah, so
keep away from the kids. Get some high up shelves.
The kids are older now, so they're less like I guess touchy with them. Well, I've got lots of models now as well. So like I got the Vegeta. How cool is he?
This is just show and tell now.
Yeah, it's pretty much. I don't know.
And if we're doing show and tell, look at this shit.
Oh, what is it?
Fucking
Bowser.
My big ass. Everyone look at my Bowser. My Lego Bowser took me a week to build. He's so good. He has like, can't see shit because the camera's all fucking up. He has like a movable mouth that shoots and shit. And you can like turn his head and.
Oh wow, that's a Lego model.
Yeah, it's like $400.
Whoa! All right,
yeah.
I
don't have kids, man. I got disposable income. Let's go.
Yeah, love it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but that's our lineup for next week, and that's what we're doing. Also, when the Mario movie comes out, I'm sure we'll watch it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm definitely watching it.
You're a big Nintendo fan. I've got a Switch. I was never a massive Nintendo fanboy, but I'll watch it.
My first consoles were Super Nintendo and 64, and then my first console I bought was the GameCube, and then the Wii.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big fanboy.
Yeah. I had Super Nintendo and then PlayStation, and then the PlayStation was chipped back in the day, so we got a lot of barley games. So I had boggins of games, and then we did the same with the Xbox as well. So the Xbox was chipped and modded, so you could like copy it to the hard drive, and then I think they were like in 10,000 rupiah, sorry, in terms of in barley. 10,000 was like $1.
It was $10.
No,
$1.
Yeah, 10,000 was about $1.
I've been a long time. Are you talking about? I thought you were talking about the price of the console.
Oh no, the actual games from Bali. So they're like
the games.
Game. So I just bought them all. So I had like pretty much the entire library of Xbox games, all from Bali.
Of course you fucking did.
It was nuts.
I was replaying the same games over and over. That's probably the difference. Like they actually made a difference too, because you used to go to Bali and get hundreds of movies, whereas I was
Mm.
always rewatching the same ones over and over and over again.
Yeah, we went
So now,
three times a year. So
yeah, there you go.
That's I always had
No.
new movies and new games to play.
Nah,
No,
I probably got a new movie 3 times a year,
they're up.
or a new game 3 times a year. Like that was about my limit. I
Yeah,
reckon it's pretty close. Yep.
that's probably why our mentalities are
So different.
so
I find
different.
comfort in rewatching stuff. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's very true. There you go.
There you go. So there you go. Now you know more about us. But
Yeah, a bit of psychology for our audiences. You're welcome.
How does that make you feel? Put it in the show notes down below. But as usual, if anyone knows anyone from Under Armour, let them know that
hook us up.
We got some guys that are pulling some numbers now. So also, if you want a Ryman TV merch, I'll put that link in there. Otherwise, I'm live on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:45 Australian Central Standard Time. And if you're watching it on the Vodcast, make sure you share that with your friends. Put a comment in there, say good day, and then tell your friends, tell everybody, make the day, hinder their day, do whatever. Just tell them.
Tell your friends.
Tell them all. Tell everybody.
Tell all your friends.
Tell them all. Even if you're getting surgery, tell your doctor. Tell your surgeon. Tell them all. I don't know. Why not?
Where does that come from?
I don't know. It was just
sure. Well, I mean, it's fair.
Yeah. I don't know.
What a perfect time to catch up on all the podcasts if you've been in surgery and do nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. See yous.
Love yous. Bye.